Ah, you're doing it again. Last night it worked so well. Hello everyone. All right, let me get myself arranged like always, because I can never be ready the first moment we start. And so close yet so far. This is the one I'm looking for. All right. Hello everyone. All right, I'm almost there. I'm almost ready. Here, let me trigger something here for you. Bam, that'll keep you occupied for a minute. First question, of course, is can you hear me? I saw many of you at Reefapalooza. Oh my goodness, hello Moscow. Do we have sound? Oh, man, you guys answer so quick. That's awesome. All right, so I played around with this last night quite a bit because I wanted to have this just right. And let's switch to this point of view. So this is a new view. I have a new webcam. And that was a gift from a friend named Ed, who has been helping me on and off over the years with various things that are all things technical. And he said, Mark, try out this webcam, see if this makes your life better. He also wants me able to point it at the reef. And of course, you know, that'll, instead of doing what I was doing with my iPhone, which looked a little bit insane the last couple of live streams. So thank you, Ed. That was really nice of you. Okay, I have to move this box. It's totally in my way. So weird. Last night I was able to move that box over there and everything looked right. And today I move it over and everything shrunk. And I don't understand why. It's kind of a bummer, but we'll make it work. So I got to show you guys something kind of funny. Let me move my other box here really quick first. Yeah, I really cleaned things up. I cleaned up camera. I messed with the mic for about 30 minutes last night trying to get everything sweet. And I think I like it. So I want to show you guys something kind of funny. So we're going to switch to another angle. Yes, that's me. I'm at this angle too because I'm narcissistic today. That was my first thought. I have two camera angles of me because of two different webcams. And so I'll be flipping back and forth. And there's actually a good reason for it. But I know it seems kind of crazy. And at some point, I probably will relocate myself so I have the freedom to take this webcam right here and point it at the reef, possibly, and get some better perspective. I noticed there's some software for this webcam, specifically for pan, tilt, zoom, but it only works on a PC. And then it occurred to me, but I have Parallels on my Mac, which allows me to run PC software. So am I able to run that within this broadcaster and make that all happen? We'll have to see. I'm not positive. I've got a list of things to talk about today. And I wanted to first of all tell you, if you noticed in the description under this video, I'm talking about a brand new app called Reeftrace. And Reeftrace is coming out November 1st. And I'm partnering with it. So you're going to see a lot of Milo's Reef inside of that app. And as you're using it on your phone, which is for iPhone right now, but Android later, it will allow you to test your water parameters, share the results with your friends. It will give you a LFS locator. It will give you a, they have a name for it. It's like a marketplace, which will show you some of the things that are going on in the industry right now. And it also has Critter ID built in, because I think that's really important. And so there's a link in the description that you can click on to take you to reeftrace.com. And I think that you'll find it quite interesting. I'm excited. I have a lot of work to do in the next couple of weeks to do my part of what's required for that app. But, oh, and the most important reason I'm telling you about this is because there's a contest. There is a contest to win an iPhone 10. Actually, there's 3 iPhone 10s in this contest. So you have got to go to Reeftrace. I'm going to put this link in the chat box right now. And hopefully you guys can click on that. If you can't, copy and paste it. I'm not sure what happens because I've never put a link in a chat box before on YouTube Live. But You enter the contest to win the iPhone 10, and you'd have something to put your new app on. And you'd have a better phone than I do right now. So that's pretty exciting. You asked the question, is it worldwide or US? I think it's international. I don't think this is US only. Not 100% sure, but check reeftrace.com and go there, and you'll find the contest on their website. You can click it. It'll give you the information. It's actually pretty easy. You have to like their Facebook page, and you have to use a few hashtags, and I think share it with some people. Seems pretty simple to win an iPhone, and I've got friends that have won iPhones in contests like this before, and I'm super jealous. So here's an opportunity for you guys. Yes, that is a Facebook link to the actual contest itself, but there will be the actual information on reeftrace.com, and I think that you should be able to check that out. Yes, it is for iPhone right now, but they're going to be developing it for the Android phones out there as well. I'm sorry you don't like Facebook, but sometimes necessary evils. What if you liked Facebook for a minute, just long enough to win an iPhone 10? I mean, come on. I have this crusty old 7 right here, and I want a newer one. Actually, I'm going to buy a new one. I can't wait. I think they go on sale in about 2 weeks, and I will be putting in my order for it immediately because I cannot wait for the better camera that's built in. And I got to tell you, my iPhone is maxed out. I have it so full of stuff. I went to Reefapalooza last weekend, and I thought, well, I'm going to film a little bit. And I looked, and I had like 1 gig of space left on my 256 gig phone. So needless to say, I had to offload some material off of there, mostly video, and create some empty space. And then, of course, I filled it up again. And then I got really serious to see what I could remove. And I had fun doing that because I have over 1,700 videos on my iPhone that go all the way back to 2013. And so I got rid of some big ones that I didn't need on the phone, obviously. But as I went through it, I discovered so many video clips. Because I do a lot of clips. I tend to film a lot of things that are about 9 to 14 seconds long because I like to cut my videos and take you to different things and not stay stagnant like I am right now in this video. Let me do a cut. That way you guys get a bounce. Where's my mouse? Here we go. So you see, I jumped. And now I'm over here with you guys. And when I jump back and forth, it makes me feel like it's less static and more interesting. So I've been doing these videos for some time now, and I cannot wait to use those little clips on Instagram. So let me get you on this. And I will also be using it on the Critter ID section because my Critter ID section has always been static images, and I wanted some video clips so you can actually see an Aptasia moving in the water, and you can see a worm crawling through the rocks. Okay, I see your questions. Let's see. Okay, David asked me, why don't you use cloud storage to save space on your phone? I actually pay for cloud storage, but it doesn't link to my phone because I have so much data, I wouldn't have enough room. I think I'm paying for 200 gigs, and my phone is 256 gigs, so it would instantly max it out. So what I do occasionally is I hook up my iPhone to my Mac, and I do image capture, and I pull everything off the phone to make one giant archive, and occasionally I do that again. And it's still, you know. I mean, obviously, I'm getting a new phone that's the exact same size. That's not really going to help me. I have to remove. And what I like to do most is after I've shared a video. I'm looking at the wrong camera. After I share a video, I like to then delete it from the phone, unless it's something I'm definitely going to share when I'm traveling. And so in that case, I still have a backup copy. I watched a video from another YouTuber recently, and she had 1 million views on her video. And I thought, 1 million? How did she get 1 million views? And so I had to watch it, of course, which gave her 1,000,001 views, right? And what had happened was she had filmed something, and then she offloaded it from her camera onto her computer, and then she formatted the card so that she could use it on the next computer, on the next video session. And then when she went to her computer, there was no video. So she reenacted the entire thing, and it was actually really funny, which explains the 1,000,000 views. And apparently, I need to reenact a video. So, Emmanuel keeps asking me, what did you buy at Reefapalooza? And put all kinds of stars on the screen to get my attention. And I will show you one thing that I bought. Let me switch my camera angle. So I bought this. I talked about it in a Machina presentation, or Machina recap video, and I got it. So this is from Building an Obsession, and it is a frag transport carrier that you can remove. You can set your frags in there. They actually hold in these little rubber grommets, which is really cool. And then when you need to clean it, you can actually remove this post right here. So now you've just got the disc. And it's got little feet on the bottom. It's made of acrylic. You'd think I would have made something like this, but I did not. So it's a pretty cool transport system. And a buddy of mine said, Mark, would you please pick me one up? Because I'm getting there later in the day. And so I bought one for me as well. And they keep saying this is TSA approved. This was in my suitcase. It was empty because I did not go straight home from Reefapalooza. No, I went from there straight to Arizona. And that surprised a lot of people because they thought I'd stick around for a couple of days, but I didn't have the time. Okay. Okay. Another good question. Let me switch cameras because it's fun to switch back and forth. Also, I want to put this on the screen. All right. So at this Reefapalooza, let me roll back just slightly. I had a lot going on for the last 2 weeks. It was insane how much I had to do. And I was actually freaking out and thought I couldn't do it all. I was kind of thinking, how do I get out of it? How do I reduce my load? What can I possibly do to keep my customers happy? And it was really stressful. I basically took 9 flights in 10 days. And I had to do a sump install in New Jersey, which took a couple of days. And of course, when I got there, the completed shipment did not even arrive. The sump that I shipped wasn't even there yet, which took all day Monday to get. And so that night after dinner, the installation was started. And from 8 o'clock at night to 8 o'clock in the morning, I did this full install with my friend AJ. And once it was completed, I had just enough time to take a shower, go straight to the airport, and take off. It was that close, but we had to get it done. And the install went really well. I was very pleased, and it's already 100% quieter. It's very clean. Now they have a refugium zone. They have a huge top-off container. They have a brand new RO system. They're running the Apex. I mean, it's all the nice doodads. They installed some wave pumps in the display tank for additional flow. And I just heard yesterday that they added some more anemones to the tank to make it more interesting. So that was a good thing to get off of my shoulders because it was one of these things that had to get accomplished within a very tight window. I almost felt like I was on an episode of Tanked. You know, they always say, oh, we have no time, and the customer's all upset. It was kind of all in my own head, but I was still freaking out. But I'm glad it went really well. And then I was home for one day, and then I had to take off for Utah and had to give a presentation. And so we traveled around all day, went to fish stores, went to Bradley's house and checked out his beautiful reef. Had to give the presentation, run the raffle, grab dinner, got to the hotel. It's 1:30 in the morning. I had to get up at 5 in the morning to go to the airport to head to California. So I got to California, and I slept. And I mean, I was in a buddy's house. I doubt that my friend is watching this, but Scott, if you are, thank you very much for letting me stay with you. And all I did was crash on a sofa for a few hours, grab dinner, get a haircut, go back to sleep, get up first thing to go to Reefapalooza. So Reefapalooza took place in a hotel this year, and I think it was the Hilton. Doesn't matter. It was a nice hotel. And it was on the second floor, which, because I was not a vendor, because all I did is I wanted to fly out and attend Reefapalooza like you guys do, where you just walk in and you have a good time. And, you know, you shop, and then you head back out. And I wanted to see what that's like, because I hadn't been to Reefapalooza in California in a long time. So what I was impressed with was there was a lot of people there. And that was one of the things I wanted to know, because I was wondering, should I set up a booth to sell products at Reefapalooza instead of Machina? Because I do this at Machina every year, and I'm there for 3 days, and people come by the booth, and they talk to me, and they buy a few things, and they leave. But I kind of feel like, and I don't know if I'm oversharing, but I like to be honest with you guys, I kind of feel like it's pointless for me to run a booth at these trade shows at this point in my life. Obviously, I can stand there, and I can sell things all day long, because that's what I do for a living. But a lot of the people that come by the booth come by because they like my website, they like a product they got from me, or they like the YouTube channel. And that's great. I mean, that's why it's out there, to help educate and hopefully entertain to the point where they don't tune out and they don't skip ahead. I know some of you guys skip. I watch the numbers, but that's all right. Every word that comes out of my mouth is absolutely important, and you shouldn't miss a heartbeat, but I know that there's only so much time in the day, and sometimes I might drone on. Back to my point. So I'm thinking at these trade shows, I do a lot better walking around, seeing the new products, taking some video, sharing it on YouTube for you guys. And I think that's pretty much what I'm going to do for the next year or two, is that I'm going to be going to these shows as an attendee rather than as a vendor that sells. And that's kind of what I feel like I should do. And, you know, feel free to tell me what you think. But let me change directions on this for a second, because I wanted to know, how many of you guys, there are 60 of you in the room right now, how many of you are going to frag swaps or Reefapaloozas or MACNAs or club one-day shows? Let's see. I'm going to kind of look at your comments and take a sip of my coffee. Seahorse Whisperer says, if all the vendors chose to attend as attendees, there would be no trade shows. That's true. But you know what? A lot of the vendors that do really well are the ones that sell corals, and I don't sell corals. And that's where you get the big profits, obviously. Because you grow out things in your own tank, you bring them there, and you move them hand over fist. And I mean, look at some of the prices. Okay, there was a vendor there, had a beautiful anemone collection in these 2 cubes or cubbies. And there was this giant clownfish. They called it a clown koi. So I don't know if that helps you figure out who it is. But one of his anemones was $700. Now, I know all he needs is one buyer, and he made $700. But it's like $700? I was complaining in a video 2 years ago about paying $40 for an anemone. And, well, actually, I was complaining about buying a $400 light to keep a $40 anemone alive. I am glad to see that you guys are going to these events, and I do want to strongly encourage you to do that. One of the things that I try to do is always go to my club's events, because the more people that attend, the more well supported it is. And when it's a ghost town, when only a few show up, it's really discouraging to the organizers. It's really hard to line up vendors to set up booths to sell. But I think for my own company, it's not really so beneficial, because I sell a lot of products. I sell things from Blue Life, Ecotech, Coral View, Reef Octopus, I'm a Reefer t-shirts, of course all my acrylic wares that I build myself. All of those things I sell, but you can get all those things pretty much online, so why have you at the show looking at things? Especially because a lot of the people order from me wanted custom items. Yellow Tang asked me, what do I think about the ban on USA fish collection? The ban is in Florida, and what they actually did was they took away the permits. So you could not get new permits at this time to collect fish. And we'll have to see how long it takes to reverse that. Because what they've been doing in Florida, I'm sorry, did I say Florida? I meant Hawaii all this time. Hawaii is the most sustainable system of fish collection anywhere. They are the example to follow. And yet there was, I think, there was some arm twisting going on in the background that made that happen. And they've been fighting to stop the collection for years, even though what they're swearing is happening, statistically and mathematically, they're wrong about. So what do I think? I think that hopefully the truth will come out and the facts will overrule emotions, and hopefully that will get back to a sustainable, legal collection of fish. Because now that they've taken that away, what do you think's going to happen? There's going to be illegal collecting of fish, because now you can't legally do it, and some of these people went to bed and woke up the next day and didn't have a job. I mean, just like that, boom, it was taken away by a court system. And I doubt they all went to go work at McDonald's the next day. Let's see. Seahorse Whisperer says, I think the point is, if you're a vendor attending as an attendee, don't sell. Be fair to those who forked over big bucks to fund and sell at the event. Well, of course. I'm not there to sell. I'm there to see what's new and learn about the latest equipment and have a great time. I do know I ran into the guys from Aquamedic. They sell. And they were at MACNA this year just looking around. They weren't selling. So I think that we agree. Let's see. All right, let me get back to my list, because that's the best way to keep this going. And of course, I'll be answering some of your questions. I see some of you guys are having a conversation amongst yourselves. Okay, so here are the things that I saw at Reefapalooza that caught my eye. I made a list last night at 3 in the morning because I wanted to be able to keep this conversation flowing. Obviously, I went to Rod's Food's booth. Rod's Food. And I have a picture. I'm going to hold it up for you guys. Let me see if I get this brightness up here. Okay, we'll switch cameras again to this one. And so here I am in Rod's booth. And if you look really close, you'll see I'm holding a whole stack of t-shirts. And so my joke was, I actually grabbed them off of the, whatchamacallit. I grabbed them off the floor, and I made it look like I just got a ton of shirts, which of course I did not. I wanted it for the picture only, and then I joke, if you hate doing laundry, just get a bunch of free shirts from Rod. But I put them back. It was just a joke, and he was a good sport about it. I also went and hung out with the people at Fritz. Fritz is actually based out of Dallas. And so I went ahead and I wanted to talk to them about their salt again, because I'm still using up what I have on hand. I've got a lot of people debate which salt to use, and to be honest, it almost doesn't matter which salt you use. What matters is good water parameters. There are many brands on the market. Everyone's using different brands. Their stuff is living. So does it really matter which salt you use? Does it come down to a preference? Does it come down to how clean your container is? Does it come down to how your corals look? These are the questions that matter when it comes to what you're doing. Also, how you change your salt water, how you mix it, how you perform the change. All these things matter. Okay, let me see. So, I talked to them. I'm probably going to be trying some Fritz salt here in the near future, and I think that it will be. I think it'll be uneventful. I think it'll be perfectly fine. Let's see. We're going to put this on the screen for a few minutes. The people at Current USA. I'm trying to keep all my lists here. I have lots of windows going on my screen, plus your chat box. Current USA has a new controller system called Loop. And they told me, Mark, we're definitely sending you one to try out on your frag system. So that's kind of exciting. And it's a brain that communicates with pumps and I think lighting and possibly a return pump. It's all together. It's not a full-fledged controller where you're getting texts and stuff, but it does allow you to do everything you want to do. And I find it interesting, and one of the things that caught my eye instantly was that their pump had a little sponge that went around it to keep anemones and other fish out of the pump. Yay! That's really important, and I constantly tell people to anemone-proof their pumps and their display tanks, so that way you don't keep reading stories of, oh, the anemone went through the pump and it killed these fish, or it killed everything, or it killed the anemone. So that was nice, because right now I know that Vortec makes a sponge, and now I've seen that Loop or Current has a sponge. And I'd really like to see more of the pump manufacturers make a sponge, or teach us how to make a really great DIY sponge. I'll talk about this for a minute. I talked to Ecotech and said, how do you make your sponges? Because I had some of that material, that black foam that's very porous, and I have a heat sealer, like when you melt a bag shut. Some coral vendors talked me into buying one. They said, Mark, you need this. And so you buy these little skinny bags, you put your frag in there, you put a little bit of water in there, and then you put the heat sealer and you push down, and it just melts the bag together. It's better than a Ziploc. And so I thought, oh, I'll use that to melt this foam together. It didn't do anything. So I didn't get an exact specific answer, but basically it's some kind of a heat-sensitive glue that they use. So maybe somebody can Google that and find it and give me some information where to get it. Because if we could get some foam at like Hobby Lobby or, I don't know, Amazon, and you can cut it to the shape of your pump, a strip, and then you put this glue on both sides. I mean, possibly you could glue it together with a hot glue gun, right? And create a seam where the foam will then connect, and then you can just slide it over the pump. But if we had better ways of keeping livestock out of pumps, that would be important, and I think that'd be great. Tanks and Updates asked me, what is your biggest struggle currently with your reef? The ongoing struggle with my reef is always, do I like it? Because a lot of the times I kind of get mad at it or I hate it. It's not a bad reef. It just, it's not perfect. I want everything to be perfect all at the exact same time. And, you know, I did this huge overhaul. You guys are still waiting for that video, but like I said, I was so busy. And I didn't even finish that other story, but I'd been traveling. And I literally got back just 2 days ago, and I rested even more, and then I'm right back to work, and I'm trying to get orders out for customers and build a sump for my tank sitter, who's been waiting for his for about 5 weeks. My tank is doing well. I mean, overall, it's running fine, and there's some weird brown stuff on the sand bed right now that I don't like, and it's more than diatoms. It doesn't look like cyano. I don't think it's dinoflagellates. I feel like it's some other thing, and I don't know what it is. I can't really identify it at this time. But I'd like it gone, so it bugs me. So that's my worst case right now. Let's see. One person said salt does matter. Well, yes, but okay, let me get into this with you. I'm going to argue with you for a minute. So I used Red Sea Pro Reef salt for years and had no issues whatsoever. And yet others were saying they didn't like it, they preferred reef crystals, or they preferred oceanic, or they preferred Kent, or whatever it is. And what's the difference? Seriously, what is the difference between the different brands of salt? Are you going to talk about the strength of the alkalinity? Are you going to talk about the salinity? Because that's really comes down to you mixing it. Are you going to talk about what the container looks like after it's been mixed? Because I used Red Sea Pro and was very happy with it. I'm using salinity right now by Seachem. And salinity, it mixes fine. There's a little bit of stuff. I'm getting a little bit of particulate issue that comes out of the pipes when I first open the valve every time. So something is precipitating out, at least at some point, which doesn't make me happy. But I used, the only brand on the market I ever didn't like was Oceanic. And it was actually hurting my corals after every water change. I could mix up a brand new batch of salt, I do the water change, I matched pH, temperature, and salinity exactly to the tank, and then all the tips of my SPS would get burnt. They'd turn brown, the tips would die, and algae would grow and have to cut off all the tips, and then the coral would regrow and heal from that water change, which is insane. And I'd do another water change, and the exact same thing happened with another batch. And I did this several times. I did it with a couple different buckets, and that's when I determined that's not a good salt for my reef, for me, and who knows, maybe not good for the entire planet. I don't know. But that one was a bad one, and I never found out why. Plus, there's this weird brown stuff floating on the surface of my water after mixing and encrusting along the top rim, almost like a mold. So what's up with that? I have no idea. That was many years ago. I didn't go back to them ever again. But I used Kent, even when they had the big debacle about, I don't know, 12, 13 years ago, where they didn't add any alkalinity to the water at all. You know, there was none in the salt mix. And I was doing what I always do. I measured my pH, and it was really low, so I buffered the salt water before I used it, not knowing I was actually fixing a known problem. And it was within about a couple of months of that it became huge national news that there was a problem with the salt mix nationally. So there was a huge recall, and a lot of people got replacement salt or went to a different brand at that point. But if you're measuring the water you're mixing, you should be good to go. And whether you like one brand over another one, like Aqua Forest is a new one that's come to market. Live Aquaria just came up with a brand new salt mix that they announced at MACNA. I've used Fritz a few times. I had no issues whatsoever. So since they're local, I'm thinking about getting some more of it. Let's see. I'm reading your comments. One person said reef crystals precipitates. Another one seems to agree with me, saying that what does it matter? The main thing is not to change and keep changing flavors. I think that's true. I think constantly changing brands of salt could probably be detrimental because of the different trace elements that are included in the various batches. I like to stick with stuff for a long time. But overall, whatever brand you end up using, you should be good. I mean, if you just hate it from the beginning and you want to switch, it's sort of like you go to the ice cream shop and you try an ice cream and you hate it. So you're like, I'll never get that one again. You get a different flavor. Okay, I get that. But to just say flat out one is evil, the only one that I listed was one out of nearly 20 years of experience. And I don't even know if you can even get that one anymore. So if they're talking to me, you know, if they say, hey, Mark, how dare you talk about our salt? I haven't used it since that bad summer. You know, I tried several times, and it just didn't go well for my reef. Oh, yeah, ATM came out with a new salt. That's another brand. Like I said, there's so many salts out there. And it really comes down to what your local store will carry or what you can get delivered to your door. And that oftentimes will limit what choices you have. And especially with you people around the world, international users, you may not have access to ATM salt, but you can get Hawaiian Marine, or you can get, what is that other one? I think it's Tropic Marin. That's a really expensive salt over here. And I bet it's cheaper over there in Europe because it didn't have to be shipped across the planet to come to the US. So that would probably be a good deal for you, where maybe getting a salt that we have in the US is very expensive for you being shipped over to your country. My coffee is cooling off. Boo hiss. Let's see, I had something else here on the screen. I'm going to put this on the bottom of the screen for you guys. Real quick mention again, Reef Trace is coming out. It will be released November 1st. It's a brand new app for the iPhones, and right now there's a contest that you can enter to win an iPhone 10. There's actually 3 iPhone 10s in the contest, so you have 3 times the likeliness of winning. So that's kind of exciting. And be sure that you go to reeftrace.com. I put a link to that in the description of this video, so you can click it later on. Be sure you sign up to enter that contest, to win a phone. That's awesome. Okay, what else did I do at Reefapalooza? I talked to the guys at Brightwell about the Marine Pure bricks. Brightwell and Continuum seem to be connected in some form or fashion. And so I'm going to try the bricks out. My nitrates are still up. They're over 25, which means they're probably 60. And my biopellet reactor is really low, so I'll top it off again. But I kind of feel like I want to try some Marine Pure bricks and see if it makes a difference. So I'm going to get a couple of those bricks. I was told 1 brick would do my entire reef, but I'm leaning on putting in 2. Even though I have, they said, come on. They say the brick is for this many gallons. Speaking of this many gallons, this is kind of funny. So I got this food. Switch cameras. Let's see, we'll go to this one. I got this food. And it is by Benepets, and I learned about it while I was in Utah. So here's the thing I want you to see. Okay, you see the jar. That's the size. Now look at the bottom here. What does it say? 4,800 gallons of food in this container. I told them I need a container that matches a 450-gallon tank, and they gave me one 10 times the size. That's crazy that there's enough food for 4,800 fish. So I'm going to try to show you this dust. Try not to spill it all over my keyboard. That you would mix with some water and then pour it in the tank, and it's dust. I mean, it is... It has a smell. Clean. Kind of makes me think of moss. Let's see if there's any ingredients on here. I'm sure there are. Oh my goodness, the words are so small. I'm going to pronounce the words I can say out loud. Salmon fish meal, freeze-dried plankton, brine shrimp, rotifers, copepods, yeast, cornstarch, calcium powder. That word I saw in Rod's food. Astaxanthin, spirulina, garlic powder, marine fish oils, soy flour, blend of superfoods, Benepet's proprietary probiotic blend, such as but not limited to lactobacillus, Saccharomyces, and Bacillus species. So they basically say mix it up with some water and add it to your tank to feed all your tiny SPS. So I am going to be doing that. And I wanted to try it out. They said, Mark, take it. So I took it. This was their information. They told me to let them know how I feel. So I'll let you guys know, if it does anything crazy like gross cyano, which I know it won't. Also, Marine Depot gave me something called Reef Welder, which is these plastic beads that you heat up, I believe, in hot water, and then you squish it together into a putty. You put it in your tank to hold your rockwork together or to plant a frag somewhere in your reef. And I believe it'll be clear. So, well, it looks a little bit whitish in this one picture. You can kind of see there on the edge. Where am I pointing? Oh, where is the camera? So you can kind of see it's a little whitish there. But anyway, they sent me 2 different ones. So this one is white, and this one is the better one. It says it's purple. Oh, I keep moving the camera. Purple. So I'll probably like that one better because I love things that are coralline colored. So that is something they asked me to try out. I believe they're already using it over there at Marine Depot, of course. And then I went by the Piscine Energetics booth, and I spun a wheel, and I won 1 millimeter sized food. Can you see how small those are? Oh, you can see it. Anyway, it was funny because there's this big wheel and all these choices. And I said, come on, 1 millimeter. And I landed on 1 millimeter. So I've got some little tiny pellets, which would work great inside an auto feeder. But you can also just pinch it. And this is a bag that has a Ziploc at the top. So after you've torn it open, you can go ahead and reseal it. Keep it fresh. What else did I get? So this one was kind of a fun one. This is from Vivid Creative Aquatics. And I heard they were featured on Reef Builders. And this is their new flow accelerator. And it is completely 3D printed. So, you've got, can you see that? That's me through there. And then on this side, you can see the little propellers inside maybe. And there are little slits right in here. So they basically are saying that water will flow 5 different ways as it comes out. I already have flow accelerators on my main reef. I'm going to try this one out on my frag system. I forgot to ask them what this cost. It's probably going to be somewhere around 20 bucks. And I was talking to the owner of the company, or at least one of the owners, and he was saying they have a bunch of printers and they are constantly cranking these out. And they make them in all different sizes. This one here would be for 3/4 inch lock line, and it just presses on where your normal nozzle is. You just take it off and put this guy on instead. So I'll be trying that out. And they also gave me these cool little clip hangers, which you can use to hold your dosing tubes to keep them nice and organized near your sump area. And there's 3 different styles inside this package. And I believe this pack was $5. So you can connect either 2 tubes, 3 tubes, or 4 tubes with these little tiny connectors, which I thought were pretty cute. And again, these are 3D printed. So that's kind of a neat business model. Just print what you need for your customers. Doctor of Welsh Magic says, the bacillus are great beneficial bacteria in that food and are commonly found in grass and the root of plants. They prevent root rot in that environment. So, that's why I thought I smelled moss. That's how good my nose is. What else do I have here? That's all the products I brought home. I also came home with this awesome shirt. So, it says here, what does it say? I'm going to switch to this camera. Maybe that'll help. So it says, I can't even read it. I just care about my reef tank and like maybe 3 other people. And it's funny because I already had a shirt like that I got in Florida. And then Marine Depot they walked up and they saw me in my shirt. And they said, Mark, we got almost the exact same shirt because it said, I love my aquarium. And this one says, I love my reef tank. And I was like, oh, so that's why I'm wearing a brand new shirt from Marine Depot. Thank you, Marine Depot, for thinking about me and giving me a shirt. Normally, I would buy these things. I want you guys to understand some things are given to me. They want me to do product reviews. They want me to talk about on YouTube. Kind of makes sense, right? But some things I buy of my own accord. And for example, I purchased my ticket for Reefapalooza, flew out, stayed with a friend, and had a great day. And they were shocked that I bought the ticket. I actually had 2 of the different organizers contact me directly and say, Mark, you bought a ticket? I was like, yes, I bought a ticket. I'm going. And they said, you don't have to do that. And I thought, well, it was really nice of them to say that. But at the same time, I feel like I do. It's great to get things for free. And I appreciate that. But at the same time, the entry fee was $20. It's not like it was going to make or break me. And it allowed me to support the club. Because that is the... I think it's SCMAS, which would be Southern California Marine Aquarium Society, and that money that they receive from selling entry fees and raffle prize money helps support the club, and I wanted to support it. And I wanted to see what the event was like. So someone asked me earlier, I didn't get your name, it went by too quick, which do I prefer, Mackinac or Reefapalooza? They're just totally different, and let me explain why. Mackinac was set up 29 years ago as an educational event, and they had speakers, and they had a few vendors, and it has grown into this huge trade show that we have these days. You know, and Mackinac next year will be in Las Vegas in September of 2018. And with them having 165 or 170 or 180 vendors, that means you have 3 days to visit 60 vendors a day if you want to meet them all. if you want to talk to everyone and see what their new product is. And almost every vendor there wants to showcase their new product, wants to answer your questions, and wants to get you as a customer. Makes sense. Plus, there's over 20 speakers educating all day long for 3 days. And then there's the raffle, which of course everyone wants to win stuff for free, which is fun. And you buy $20 in tickets, $100 in tickets, $500 in tickets, and you try to come home with a brand new tank setup. You try to win a trip to Fiji. You try to win a skimmer or a return pump or an RO system. Yeah, it makes sense. So that is what I'm used to. Reefapalooza started completely differently. I don't even know when. I'm going to say 10 years ago. It might be longer. It started in the backyard of a guy named Mark Trimble. And Mark basically mowed his back lawn, set up some tables, and told the club members, come to Reefapalooza, and we're going to sell frags. And it was a frag swap. And a frag swap is just a place to buy corals from each other or trade them. You know, in the old days, people traded corals. They didn't charge you for them. Shocking, right? Sometimes you get them from a friend. You know, your buddy has a reef tank and he hands you a frag. That's where that all gets started, sharing. Another thing that people did back then, which I don't think they do enough of now, is called banking a coral. So I buy a coral, I put a piece in my reef, and I put a piece in your reef. So if something bad happens to my tank, I can say, hey, can I get a frag of that? And they're like, yeah, here. And you have some corals banked with a buddy, so you can restart your system. And frag swaps have grown, and they've gotten a little bit more commercial as well. And Reefapalooza has become very commercial. It is now a ton of coral vendors. They are all showcasing all different types of stuff. Some corals are cheap, some corals are very expensive, but it's an exciting opportunity to see a lot of beautiful eye candy all within 2 or 3 hours. And that's what I think most people do that go to Reefapalooza. They aren't going there for a 2-day event. They are going to either go Saturday or they're going to go Sunday. They're going to walk the entire room once, then they're going to hit their favorite vendors, buy a few things, visit with somebody that they like, maybe see something new, and poof, they're gone. They're acclimating their new corals. Hopefully they're dipping their new corals and then acclimating the new corals. But it's just a different environment. And now they did have 3 or 4 speakers at Reefapalooza this year. They've had them in the past, but no one went to them in the past. I didn't see the speaker room this year. I didn't see how many people went in. They had some power speakers this year. Sanjay Yoshi is one who always talks about lighting. Bob Fenner was there, who wrote this book right here called The Conscientious Marine Aquarist. And this is a very good book for anyone that's wanting to get educated in the hobby. And it's been around for a long time. So Bob was there speaking. He's fun. And the educational aspect is important to me. I mean, I'm talking to you on YouTube to help teach you, not just tell you a great story. And that way you can take the information you're learning and you can apply it to your tank and make yourself a beautiful system. So in the past, they'd have 3 speakers at an event and there'd be a small little room on the side and maybe 30 people went in, but they would boast about 4,000 to 6,000 people attending. So when you think 30 people went to learn something, it's kind of disappointing. I was actually asked about possibly speaking at Reefapalooza next year, so I said yes, which would be nice, because I'm not speaking at MACNA next year. Whenever you speak at an event like MACNA, typically you won't speak again for a couple of years because they don't want to use the same guys over and over. It just gets old. No matter what they're talking about, odds are they want to put in new faces, new topics, new technology. You know, they want to really get into it. And this year's MACNA had quite an abundance of different people speaking. And I do know that the Reefapalooza California is already scheduled for next year. And I think it's at the Marriott. See, I'm not really sure, but just go to reefapalooza.com and it'll take you to the California and it'll show you the location. It'll show you the date right now. They've already booked it, and you can go ahead and reserve your ticket now, or you can buy your ticket now to attend. And there may be a possibility I'll be a speaker at that one next year. Let me see any comments here. Reef Real Estate says, I just set up my frag tank, did a video about it, and built my own frag racks too, if anyone wants to check it out. Guessing there won't be a shout out, not the forum, I guess. And then he followed up with, no worries. Well, guess what? I guess I shouted you out, buddy. Reef Real Estate would be a channel on YouTube. You can go check it out. I have no idea. I'm just relaying what I'm seeing on my screen. Now, what else can I tell you about? I did an interview with Marine Depot while I was in California at RAP, and that will show up on their channel at some point. I hung out with Ryan from Bulk Reef Supply and spoke with him for about 45 minutes, and I heard about his upcoming videos. That's interesting. So you have some BRS Investigates videos to look forward to. I got Hank from Marine Depot. Hank is so cute, came from Finding Dory, and so he's my newest mascot to decorate my area, which always makes me happy. And I talked about all of that. Okay, so personal topic. As I'm traveling, I think about my reef tank. I try to put it in my rearview mirror when I travel. I don't constantly check my app. I don't always look to see what the parameters are. I try to make sure the tank sitter is taking care of things and that there's nothing going wrong. Which this last series of trips was kind of the worst timing ever because my main tank sitter was traveling. So I had one person step in who was very close to me and location-wise, and he came and checked on the tank for a few days. Then he had to leave town. Then I asked the local fish store if he could check on my tank, and so they did it for a couple of days. And then my tank sitter got back, and he sent me a text and said, okay, I fixed everything. Your reef is going to live. So thank you, Bobby, for doing that. And but while I was traveling, I was thinking maybe I should start feeding my anemones because I never, ever feed my anemones. I feed my fish, and my fish feed the anemones. You know, if they catch a krill and they swim down, they hide it in the anemone. That's what they do. Well, the anemones, it just depends on the time of day. And if I ignore them during the afternoon, because that's usually when I'm working, that's usually when they're their biggest. And then at night, of course, under the moonlighting, you know, depending on what the lunar cycle is on the radion light, they may be smaller, they may be puffy, they may be glowing, they may be boring, just depends on the lighting spectrum that's coming out of that light at that given time. But I thought, you know, maybe I should feed them. They'd be bigger. So I came home and I looked in the tank, and they're huge. I said, never mind, I'm not feeding them anything. The last thing I need is tentacles coming out of the top of the tank. Hey, Brad, my tank is actually doing quite well. I lost a really, really pretty chalice that was completely submerged under the sand, and I noticed it was missing. I dug in the sand, and I pulled it up, and it was just sloughing tissue, and I just slid it to the side where it was up on top of the sand, and a tiny speck of life, man, a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch of that chalice that was about this big around. I have a 1/4 inch of life that is doing just fine and has nice new perimeters or new margins and is going to grow again. I'll just have to wait 4 years for it to be something amazing again. So that was a bummer. But the person watching my tank didn't even know about this chalice, I bet. And what had happened was the vortex had blown over a Montipora on top. The sand was doing its thing. It just completely buried that thing. And I had to retrieve it. So that was kind of a bummer. And I lost some kind of an acro that Dwayne had brought me because I had this thing that was like 2 or 3 sticks with some putty at the bottom, and it was bone white. But all the other corals in the tank that were planted are doing great. They're coloring up. They're actually really pretty. I'll have to be, oh well, you'll see some stuff very soon because I've got some pictures to share with you guys. But other than that, yeah, the tanks are doing fine. There was a weird thing that happened, though. Thanks for asking. My reverse check valve that's been working flawlessly for years. You know how I always tell you, don't use a check valve? Or I say to you, a check valve will fail. It eventually will. And that's what happens. And in my case, I'm using it the opposite of how normal people use it. Usually people install their plumbing and they put a check valve and then it goes down to the pump. And the idea is that the pump is pushing water up, it moves the flapper up, water flows nonstop all the time until the pump loses power and then the flapper comes down and just stops the water and nothing comes out. That's how it's supposed to work. And eventually it won't do that job and the sump will just overflow. Well, in my case, I have the check valve on top of the tank, and when the water comes up and pushes, it actually closes the check valve and holds it shut the entire time the pump is running. And then when the pump turns off and the siphon starts sucking water back, it actually opens the check valve, it allows air in the line, and that stops any water from draining. Well, I came back from my trip after being gone for 7 days, and I hit the feed button on my tank to stop the pump, and I didn't hear that suction sound I always hear. And then as I'm standing there looking at the tank, I'm watching the water level drop and drop and drop. And I'm watching the water rise and rise and rise in the sump. And somehow that check valve had glued itself shut, which is kind of funny because usually it's the opposite. It's like it wouldn't close. Well, in my case, it wouldn't open because I'm using it in reverse. And so I took it out and cleaned it. I mean, it's been running since 2013, so I've had it for almost 4 years without touching it once, other than, to wrap it to keep it clean from growing algae inside. But it was glued shut like, I don't know, some kind of bacteria held it shut, which is really odd because every time I feed the tank, which is every single night, and I would think even while my tank sitters were here, they would be stopping the pump. So every night it opens that valve. And, well, guess who had to take that valve off and clean it? So now it's working properly, but I might buy a fresh new valve to put on there because that one's 4 years old. Can't trust things forever. Okay. Let's see, let me scroll up. I missed a question. Jack Tang asks me, he said he saw me digging around with Two Little Fishies. What I was doing with Two Little Fishies, with Julian Sprung, who sells a lot of products, and I sell some of this stuff in my shop, I asked him what's brand new. And so he was showing me, they have a really neat drain and return system you can purchase. I took some video of it. I don't remember the name off the top of my head right now. But you've got this box that you'll drill your tank and you install the box on the inside with a bulkhead through it. And then there's a cover that goes over it. And the idea is that no matter where the water level is, the drain will continue to drain down properly. And they also have a kit of these hoses that connects to it. And they have this return section that pushes the water back in the tank. But the way it's shaped on the inside, it actually creates a pulse as the water flows through. And people think there's a wave maker built in. So he was explaining to me that process. And that was the conversation you observed. I was trying to find out about new technology, new products. And one of the things I learned from him is that while this is a one-piece unit, you can take a hacksaw and you can cut it in half and you can have your return on one side and you can have your drain on the other, like most people like to run their tanks. I thought that was really neat, and so that's a kit that you can purchase. So who knows, I may be adding it to my shop at some point. I was asked if I had any experience with the Aquatop 800-watt heater. No, but 800 watts is a lot of power. What size tank are you putting that in? It's usually beneficial to stick to the wattage that's rated for your tank, which is about 3 watts per gallon. So 800 watts, that's a lot. I mean, my tank needs 1,200 watts, but I use a bunch of 300-watt heaters so that none of them have the power to cook my tank if they stick in the on position for some strange reason. One person asked if they could see what the tank looks like. What would be the easiest way? I can try to turn this camera. Let me switch this for a second. I got you on there. Move my little guy here. I just don't think you're going to see it. Let's see what happens when I move this. You're going to see my room. You're going to see my shaky hand, too. All right, we'll try it. So that's what my reef looks like right now. Just a blue mess, and you'll see a sump that's in process of being finished. And it's just not... I'm going to have to be a lot closer for this webcam to show you anything of value, and that's kind of hideous. So, no, you cannot see what the tank looks like right now. But I have been taking nice pictures, and I will be sharing those with you guys online. I put things on Instagram, and I put things on Facebook.com/Milo's Reef. So anything at Milo's Reef, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, is a great way to keep up with what I'm sharing. I shared some really nice pictures last night. I've been bumping them out a little more frequently. And one was a bristleworm, because I think bristleworms are perfectly fine in a reef tank, and yet I know some people can't stand them. I actually asked on Facebook recently, let's see your prettiest Astorina starfish, because I know people hate Astorinas, and I actually think they're nice. And I had one that was really pretty with red markings, so I put up a picture, and people were teasing me saying, well, now that you've posted that, we can't compete. But it was just an iPhone picture. Yes, you wanted to see, one person said he wants to see the clips, so we'll try this. So the company is VCA, or Vivid Creative Aquatics. And these are the tiny clips. And there's 3 different styles. So you can see the different ones there. for 2 tubes, 3 tubes, or 4 tubes to really organize them. See if that's focusing for you. Come on, focus. There we go. Good. Let's see. Tim Harris is asking, what type of valve do you run into your RODI container coming from the RO line? I do have a float valve in every container I fill up with water because I want the floor to stay dry, and I never pick up buckets of water. I haven't done that since 2010. That was the last time I picked up buckets. I mean, occasionally there's like one bucket, because someone came over, but invariably no. All my plumbing goes through tubing along the walls, and I did that to preserve my back because my back, well, it's been through a lot. And I said, I'm going to start working smarter, not harder. And so I use a float valve that I actually sell them in my shop. You can go to milosreef.com and go in the plumbing section. You'll find that valve. It's adjustable. It can be installed vertically or it can be installed horizontally. It can be installed in a sump or it can be installed in a trash can or in a top-off container. But I use the float to fill up the container, and once it rises, it makes the RO unit turn off. But the RO unit will shutter on and off and on and off and on and off. You'll hear it coming to life. And that's my audible reminder, go turn off the RO system, and I close the valve and stop the water for about a week. Seahorse Whisperer says, I'm not sure if we can stay friends if you like those god-awful stars. Not only do I love little Asterinas and have no hate for them, there was a guy that posted a great picture of a fox face, which is a fish, with an Asterina on his back, which was hilarious. I have never seen that before. And no, it wasn't photoshopped. It was one of those smartphone pictures, and you could totally tell it was a little blurry and had this Asterina on his back. It was great. Let's see. Jerry Ebner asks, which ATO do you prefer? I've been using the Smart ATO. I have 2 different versions, the regular size on my main reef, and then I've got the Smart ATO Micro on my 60-gallon frag system. And I have recently switched to, well, I'm still running them, but I picked up the new Ice Cap ATO system, and I'm about to install that because I want to see how it runs before I sell it, because I feel like I need to use something, make sure I'm comfortable with it, make sure I like it. But I've heard good things, and I just need to take the box off the shelf and install it and give you guys some feedback. Jared Springer asked me to say hi to his son, Hunter. It is great to see you through this camera. I'm looking at you now. And I hope that you'll grow to be a reef keeper like your dad. Asterinas, okay, so I understand why some people don't like Asterinas, but honestly, they're just a little tiny starfish. They tear themselves in half, and then you have 2, and they tear themselves in half, and you have 3 or 4. And sometimes you'll have one with 7 legs, and sometimes you'll have one with 2 legs because they're still in the process of growing. They go around and they eat film algae off your glass. They may eat the slime off some corals. They may occasionally chew down a zoanthid, or they may occasionally chew up an SPS. But I've never had a situation where it just devoured my reef. And I had a 280-gallon reef that was filled with thousands of Asterinas, and I lost a couple of 1-inch frags and got mad. So I bought some Harlequin shrimp to eat them. And a few weeks later, I was like, wow, I have no Asterina starfish. And then a week later, I said, wow, I have no Harlequin shrimp. Because they had no Asterinas to eat, and I guess they died. And I felt like a horrible person because I forgot to go buy them an actual starfish to feed them. So if you do get a predator that eats a certain type of pest in your tank that you call a pest, make sure you can keep feeding it. Because if you can't, then it's going to die, and you have just killed your predator. Paul's Reef says hello. So I'm saying hello back. All right. Couple more things I want to share, and then we're wrapping this up. It's already 3 o'clock according to my clock, so we've gone more than 45 minutes. Number 1, the YouTube channel has over 30,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for coming on board. I know that not all of you are in this chat room right now. There's about 80 of you, but then about 2,000 of you watch this video later after it uploads as a solid video on the channel. So thank you for trusting in me enough to subscribe. If you aren't a subscriber and you're watching this for the first time, please do join. I kind of want to do something awesome for you because we've hit this magic number of 30,000. And when I say hit that number, I actually went, I was just curious. I'm like, how am I doing? Where am we at? And I literally clicked on it the moment it said 30000, I was like, wow. I mean, what are the odds of that? Normally you would see 3,000 or 30,013 or something, but I actually caught it the exact moment. That was pretty neat. And then, you know, I was telling people on Facebook, oh, this is crazy, check this out. And then I went and checked again, and it said 29999. Someone said no. And I thought that was funny too. But then, whatever, we're back up, and we're now 300 and something over 30,000. So I thought, what can I do for you guys? And an idea that crossed my mind, but I'm not ready to do it. My idea that crossed my mind is because we hit 30, I want to release 7 videos in 7 days. I don't want to promise something I can't deliver, but I would really like to roll out a bunch of videos. So I need to get some videos edited and online. I promise you guys part 4 of Macna, still not done. I promise you the video showing the tank conversion, still not done. I just got back from RAP. I just got back from a fish store in Tucson. I did the install in New Jersey. There's a lot of things I can share with you. I've got things on my hard... matter of fact, I have so many videos on my iPhone right now, I could probably entertain you guys for the next 3 years just rolling things out quietly. But my goal is to share some really cool things with you, and I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in and for listening. Now finally, I want to tell you that next Friday and Saturday, Florida Marine Aquarium Society, or FMAS, is doing their conference, and it's a... well, you know, it's a 2-day conference, but it's really more like a 1-day conference on Saturday. So October 21st is the actual conference, but they're doing a banquet on Friday night. That's why it becomes like a 2-day thing. So I'm flying out there, and so I'm gone again for 3 days. And I will be doing that event. I will be there speaking, and I'm actually giving my talk that I gave at Macna this year. So if you missed the talk and you haven't seen it on the BRS channel yet, here's your chance to hear it in person at the FMAS event. And I cannot believe they got this URL. Reefconference.com was available. They got it. And you can click on that, and that will give you all the details, what it costs, where it is, what time it runs. My talk is first thing in the morning, 10 o'clock, Saturday morning. So that means I will have to be wide awake and giving a morning talk again. But that's okay. That'll let me walk around all day, see what's going on, see if I see some new things I want to share with you guys to film and release on YouTube later. So I do hope that if you're in Florida, you'll make the trip. Reefconference.com. And finally, I want to wrap this up again with a reminder about the Reef Trace app, which is right here. Reef Trace is a new app that's coming to the iPhone. I'm going to mention it a few more times in the coming weeks, and definitely after it comes out, because it's partnering with Milo's Reef. So it's got me in it. And I am excited about this new app. I've got a lot of work to do on it, but it's going to include water testing. It's going to, and the ability to share those results. You know, so I quit telling you to take it to Instagram. Now you can use Reef Trace. It's going to have an LFS locator. It's going to have a plaza or marketplace. It's going to have Critter ID. It's going to have some of my pertinent articles for my website. All of that stuff is tied into this app, and you'll be able to download it for your iOS device. And when they get it out, then they will be working on the Android version as well, so that everyone is included. And finally, the reason I mention this app is because you could win an iPhone 10. There are 3 of these iPhones in the contest up for grabs. So make sure you go to reeftrace.com, find the contest link, do the couple things you have to do, which is going to be something like their page on Facebook, put in a couple hashtags, share it with your friends, and you're in the contest to win an iPhone 10, which those phones are like $1,000. And there's 3 of them up for grabs. So be sure that you go there today, do not forget, and enter. And all the rules of the contest are on there, which will tell you when you get it and what's involved. And is it international or not? That's all on there. I think it is, but I'm not 100% sure. So make sure you check that. Other than that, thank you so much for watching. Next Saturday, I will be in Florida. So, oh, by the way, I could not do a stream at all from Reefapalooza. I tried. I could barely send a text. So when I switch to my new phone and get Verizon, maybe that'll work better and I can stream from locations. But I couldn't do it last one. And since I'll be at Florida next Saturday, there won't be a stream next Saturday either. So you'll just get regular videos without all this interaction. Thank you so much for sitting through this whole hour. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Measure your water today. I'm going to measure mine on my tanks. I'm going to post the results on Instagram, and that's going to be instagram.com/melovesreef. So you can check out and see where my water parameters are. I'll be sharing pictures over the next week on my Instagram where you can see specific corals. I took a couple of pictures last night with a DSLR. Came out really pretty. And I look forward to seeing your tanks, so please do keep updating and tagging Me Loves Reef so I can see what you're up to. Thanks, guys, and I hope you guys have a great weekend.